Claire here again with some more spooky Halloween ghost stories for you. Today's first ghost story is from Julia, and this is what Julia had to say. This story involves my mum. She passed away the 7th of September this year. It seems ominous since Elizabeth I was born on that day in 1533. But when I was younger, my mum told me of an experience she had. You see, she was 3 weeks old when her father died, so she never knew him, so he was never able to do anything for her. However, when my elder brother was a few months old, he fell ill with gastroenteritis. Anyway, she'd seen the MO who had told her to starve him for 24 hours, but she'd forgotten to ask how she should get him back on his feeds. My dad was away on a scheme, he was a soldier, and Mum was alone and distraught. The baby was crying, and every time she tried to feed him, he'd be sick. To cut a long story short, she looked up and saw a man sat on the bottom of the bed. And she knew him to be her father because she had a picture of him, which still exists. He asked her what was wrong, and through her sobs, she explained the situation. He then told her exactly what she should do and told her not to worry. All would be well. She was so busy following the instructions, she didn't see him leave. But the next day, when a neighbour asked if she'd sorted David out, she said yes. My dad told me. The neighbour replied, "But Betty, your dad has been dead for over 20 years. And this photo is of Julia's granddad. Actually, I don't think that is a spooky story. I think that is a very heartwarming story. Our second story is from Susan, aka Timefoolery. On our honeymoon in London, my husband and I, of course, had to visit the Tower of London. Now, I've been psychic to a degree all my life, so I was a bit excited to find out what I might see or experience. I don't often see fully fledged ghosts. I mostly see them as grey columns of mist, so that's the most I thought I could hope to see. Walking around, I did experience a few things. Like I picked up on poor Margaret, Countess of Salisbury, at the sight of the scaffold, and sensed the two princes in their nightgowns, whom I've since learned are my great uncles through my great-grandfather Thomas Gray. I then went through the White Tower and picked up a few random things, like a maid and a gentleman meeting on the stairs often, but not much else until we went into the room they'd turned into a gift shop. It has a substantial stone-sided well covered in plexiglass right by the entrance to the shop. Before I go on, I have to explain that I'm from Texas and our water wells are kept clean as possible, and we certainly don't throw things in them. So you can imagine me not expecting what happened next. Approaching it, I said naively, "Oh look, a well," and I leant over to take a peek into it. I immediately hauled back upright. At the bottom, I saw 3 men looking back up at me. Their skin was very grey, and they were dressed in the most vibrant colours of velvets, red, blue and green. Seeing them, as I said, I immediately reared back and exclaimed rather loudly, "Oh my God, they threw people in there!" I, of course, got strange looks from most of the other tourists, but my husband is British and he just said rather matter-of-factly, "Oh yeah, frequently." And he explained how it was a tidal well and that the Thames would pull the poor victims out into the river and ultimately drown them in the process. And he theorised, based on my description of their clothes, that perhaps they'd been friends of Richard II, or the aristocratic appellants upon whom Richard took revenge for killing his friends. I wish I could say that that was the end of the experience, but it seems the moment I looked into their eyes, I could then hear them from that moment on, crying and begging for my help. I tried to ignore them so I could get some souvenirs for my godchildren, but I ended up handing it all over to my new husband, and I waited outside the tower for him. It was probably the most scary and most pitiful experiences of my life, and I can't seem to find anyone else who has seen these poor men in the well. Now I'm much older and know more about my skills, I hope to one day go back and help them realise they're dead and help them to cross over at long last. To me, the horror was not in seeing them down there, but in the very idea that they'd been down there for centuries just waiting for help that wasn't coming, and unaware they'd been ghosts all that time. How I wish I'd known how to help them then. Susan ends with saying that she'd dearly love to know if anyone else has seen them, because it still freaks her out to this day. Do let us know in the comments if you have. And also, if you've had any ghostly experiences at the Tower of London, I have heard lots of ghost stories about it. Thank you for joining me. I'm sorry if that was spooky and that you have trouble sleeping. I'm going to have a cup of chamomile tea in a minute just to settle my nerves. You can subscribe to the channel by clicking around about there. You can hit the bell to be notified as these videos go live, and you can give me a like and leave me a comment. I think I have Teasel hiding under the table. Shall I see if I can pick her up to say hello? I think she's hiding here. Yes, there you are. I'm going to make my microphone noisy. But here's Teasel just to cheer us up after that horrible ghost story. That was very scary, wasn't it, Teasel? You want to go back under the table, don't you? Because that was just too scary. Very scary. Anyway, take care, sleep well. Good night.